Hi, thank you all for coming. My name is Abena Boateng. I'm a pre-law student and I'm also a UCLI intern. So thank you guys for coming. I hope it's been an enjoyable and informative experience so far. Today, in this breakout session, we are going to be doing a panel with our lovely law students. So first we'll start off with an introduction and I'll let each of them introduce themselves. I'll go over some questions that I've prepared for them. And then at the end, we'll do a Q&A so you guys can go ahead and ask any questions you might have for them as well. Alrighty, so first we have Snow. So I'll let Snow introduce herself.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming. My name is Snow Nelson.
Is it working?
Is it? No, but I can talk.
Oh, there we go.
So as you can see, you don't have to know a lot to go to law school. All right, so my name is Snow Nelson. I'm a 3L at BYU Law School. I kind of am a non-traditional student. I'm a back-to-school mom, and I am from Brooklyn, New York originally. I came to Utah just for law school. It was a kind of a roller coaster ride. I went to community college at first. I graduated there. I took my LSAT. I waited a little while before I even came to law school, maybe 3 years. And I finally just said, I'm going to apply. I applied for BYU Law and a few other schools, but I really had my heart set on BYU. So I waited. I was waitlisted the first time. And then I reached out and I was like, what can I do to make my chances better next time? And they just said apply earlier. So I applied and I got in. So that was pretty cool. I guess since my law school career has begun, when I first got into law school, I didn't know anything really about law. I'm a first generation law student. So everything was new to me. I didn't know what any of the terms were. I didn't know any of the names of the firms. I didn't even know the basic judicial system. But I learned all that being there. So I say that just so you're not intimidated to go without having any prior knowledge. And since I've been there, I've studied commercial litigation. I've done some transactional work. I've done some in-house legal work. And it's just been a blast. So I'll pass it on to, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, my slides kind of turned off, so I'm going to figure that out, but I believe Paige is up next. So Paige, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Paige. I am a 2L right here at the University of Utah. I am in the thick of law school, and I still remember what it's like to be out there wondering what your chances are to get in, what law school is going to feel like. And I applied a couple years ago. I took a gap year, and I just worked retail to try and save up the money to get in and pay for at least the cost of living. And now that I'm here, I can fully say it's absolutely worth it. If you think you're interested, it's okay if you don't have family that's in law school. If you don't have a traditional background, if you give it your best, you can do it. But yeah, I went to Utah Tech down in St. George for undergrad. I studied psychology. I figured if it didn't matter what degree I did, I wanted to do something fun. So I did, and I have no regrets about that. But yeah, I'm super happy to be here. And I hope that everybody knows that you can make it no matter what your background is and no matter what might be challenging you. If you give it your best, you can do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paige. All right, let's go to Sinndy next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sinndy. I'm Sinndy. I'm a 2L here at the U. I was born in Guatemala, but I've been raised in West Valley City, Utah. I see some West Valley people over there. Yeah. Okay. From an early age, I knew I wanted to do law school, become an immigration attorney, just because the immigration system impacted me. That's what made me interested in pursuing this career path. I attended the U for undergrad and took 3 years off in between, and then I applied here. I worked in student affairs at the University of Utah. So I haven't left for the past 7 years. I'm still here. But yeah, I think echoing the sentiments from Paige, really whatever background you come from, you can definitely succeed in this space. And I think I'll just highlight the importance of having a good support system and a good community. I think as long as you have that, you can definitely make it through. But yeah, excited to share a little bit more throughout this panel and happy to answer any questions afterwards too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Last but not least, Elle.
Hi, I'm Elle McConkie. I am a 2L at BYU Law School. I did my undergraduate here at the U, so it's really nice to be back. And I got my undergrad in history and religious studies. I didn't always think I was going to go to law school. I did a lot of community work while I was in my undergrad, but felt like law school was a great next step for me to be able to have the skills and the professional qualifications to do the type of work in communities that I want to do. So I found my way to BYU, and I've loved it thus far. I did some law and religion work this summer, and I'm planning on pursuing immigration law.
All right. Thank you so much, Elle. And thank you all. You all have like a really diverse range of experiences. So I think it'll be really helpful for our students here who have questions. But I'm going to go ahead and get started with the questions that I created. So Paige, during the first year of law school, what does your typical week class schedule look like? And how do you approach studying during the first year of law school?
So for me personally, I am a naturally disorganized person, and your first year of law school, you will be hit with a lot of reading, and it can feel different because in undergrad, you show up to class the first day and you haven't done anything, and they give you your assignments. It pops up in Canvas and you just go from there. With law school, professors will post your reading in advance, and you're supposed to have read before even your first day of school. They always would post it in the syllabus for you. So for me, who is disorganized and very forgetful, it was incredibly helpful for me to just have a little daily planner or put things into my calendar. And what I would do is I would schedule out my readings for various times during the day that I could get them done. Because most of your first year is kind of learning how to brief cases, how to read case law and understand the legal jargon. Since they kind of just throw you in the deep end, really, you just make sure you're making the time that you can for your readings, and you learn as you go. You're not going to be perfect starting out, but that's exactly the point. So, a lot of reading, but a lot, basically.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Next question is for Elle. So, what sorts of opportunities are available for students to get involved in the law school community, both professionally and recreationally? And then this will be open to all of you, but what sorts of organizations are you personally involved in, and how did you get involved with them?
Yeah, I think that law school is a lot. And like Paige said, you're reading most of the day, and so it can feel really isolating. So try to prioritize joining clubs and making a community out of law school. You spend a lot of time with your law school community, and so it's well worth your investment of time to make those connections. I think the best way to get involved in law school, especially as a first-year student, is to get involved in clubs and organizations. At least at BYU, the first week of school, we have a huge club fair, and all the different law school clubs have their little booths, and I signed up for a million clubs, but there's not like strings attached to those clubs. They're usually lunch events that you go to, and speakers will come. So I signed up for the International Law Society, Immigration Law Society, Government and Policy Law Society, and then I applied for and became the 1L representative for the DC Law Society. And all of those events, it was a great time to connect with other law students who were interested in pursuing similar fields as I was. And it was also a great opportunity to meet with and network with the speakers that we would have come to speak at our events. So I think that's a great way to engage more practically or professionally, but also recreationally by, enjoying a lunch with your friends. I know a lot of other people did like intramural sports teams together. I think it's good to find ways to be active with your law school friends because you're sitting all day long. But I'll open it up to other people if you have any comments about that.
Maybe discussing also the professional types of organizations, because I know that there's like law review and moot court. So those are some things that maybe the students might also like to know about.
Yes, I will also speak to law review and moot court. As a second, you can't participate in law review and moot court during your first year, but in your second year, you can apply for those co-curriculars. I'm doing both law review and moot court this year. They're awesome professional experience, not only just because they look good on a resume, but they also help you to develop your written advocacy, written legal skills, and also your oral advocacy skills, knowing how to speak more articulately and advocate for your clients or for a certain position. I don't want to go into litigation, but I feel like doing moot court and law review, even though those don't specifically pertain to immigration law, they're such important skills to develop, and they've already helped me to be able to connect with other professionals.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then if anybody else on the panel has any organizations they're involved with and would like to discuss.
I did about the same thing my first year of signing up for everything possible. I applied to be the 1L representative for the Student Litigation Society and for the Business Law Society. And when you're in your first year, if you apply to be a 1L rep, it's very low responsibility, and it's a great way to get involved with upperclassmen. And it's very great to make bonds with your legal community because they can form a great support system, and they're people that you might end up knowing for the rest of your life. And through doing that, I am now the president of the Student Litigation Society and the president of a yoga club. No, I'm not good at yoga. But again, it is important to stay active. And I think a great thing that getting involved can teach you is to just try. Even if you don't think you'll make it, try for moot court, try for law review, try for being on the board of whatever club you want to do, because the worst you get is no, and at best it will pay off a lot.
So I did the opposite. During undergrad, I got involved in all the stuff and I wanted to do just everything. So coming into law school, I was like, okay, I'm only going to do one student club. And so I only got involved with Minority Law Caucus. And I really wanted to find a community space for me, other people that look like me, or other people that would be able to provide like that safe space, or just resources to the Utah Minority Bar Association. And so I got involved with Minority Law Caucus, and that was the only student group that I prioritized. And I think it was also really rewarding just because I was able to make meaningful connections with upperclassmen and as well as other attorneys early on. So I guess you can do a little bit of both.
And I'll just say one quick thing. When you join these clubs, a lot of times it makes you eligible to apply for scholarships. And just being a member, not even on the board, can get you, a large scholarship. So I would recommend just signing up, going to the events when you can. They're really low pressure. Like Elle said, it's just usually a lunch and a speaker. And most of the events are just fun. So I would definitely recommend signing up. And if you can make it, you can make it. And if you can't, you can't. But it definitely opens up doors for other opportunities.
Awesome. Thank you guys all so much for sharing. I think community is so important. And so it's really nice to see that you guys are encouraging all of us to find ways to get involved. So thank you for answering that. Sinndy, next question is for you. So summer in law school is a valuable time for students to gain practical legal experience. How have you spent your summers so far in law school?
Yeah, so I've only had one summer, but this summer I completed an internship with Western Governors University, their general counsel. So I knew I was interested in higher ed, and that's where I spent my 3 years before law school. And ideally, I wanted to find a position that kind of intersected higher ed and law. And so that opportunity was just perfect blend of both worlds. And so an in-house position is a lot different than firms, in the sense that you don't really do the typical litigation work and your client is the organization that you're working for. But it was very interesting because there's different components of higher ed. I mean, you all have been probably, undergrad. So you kind of are aware that there's different areas of campus. So there's a lot of different areas of the law. And I think surprisingly, I got involved with tech law and was able to understand a little bit more about what intellectual property means. But as for legal skills, I got to work on different drafts. I would respond to certain complaint letters that we would get. So I would do a response letter to those, or the majority of my time was spent just doing research, finding out what other institutions are doing or what this law that just recently passed would mean for within our space, and then got to spend some time with the attorneys there and just be able to pick their brain about career opportunities or insights that they have in advice. yeah, that's my summer. I don't know if anyone else wants to share about their summers.
I'll say something about summers. A lot of pressure is put on your first summer out of law school. I feel like all of our career advisors, there's a lot of emphasis on it, which, there's reason for that. A lot of people, if they get a job at a certain firm for their first year summer, they'll end up just working there each summer and have a job after law school through that firm. So if you want to go into big law, into big firms, look out for that. That's certainly a consideration. But for me, it was also really important to find a summer opportunity that was interesting to me and engaging for me. And so don't ever discount that factor of being able to enjoy your summer, because I think it can lead to a lot of great opportunities from there if you're enjoying your summer work and connecting with the people that you're working with.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that insight about summers. So Snow, you are the 3L student on our panel. So the final year of law school is the year in which you're usually getting most experience. And so there's a lot of talk about clinics. Can you give us a little bit more of insight on the clinics and what that is like in your third year?
Yeah, of course. So legal clinics are actually an excellent way to kind of get yourself out there and get experience, especially if you know you're choosing a certain law field and maybe you want to try something before you graduate. I look at it as the year of experimentation, because you might not be able to do it again later if you really pick a field that you like. So they offer various legal clinics. We have at BYU, we have a domestic violence legal clinic. We have an immigration legal clinic. And you can also seek out your own externship opportunities as well. Right now, I'm actually doing an entrepreneurship clinic sort of externship. It's with Campus Founders Fund, and it's a student-run venture group. We invest in small startups, and I add my legal perspective to it. It's not really a legal thing, but I think having a legal education will help guide the other students, because if we have a patent come up or a FDA approval, I'm able to say, hey, this doesn't look likely. So I think we all kind of help each other out in that way. But the legal clinics are awesome. I've actually been considering leaving my externship I have now, because I'm I don't know if I'll have a chance again to do a domestic violence clinic or immigration clinic. And then you can take these skills and use them in your personal life and make pro bono hours if you do go to a firm that specializes in one thing, you can always do pro bono hours where you can explore the things that you're actually interested in. And it's good if you participate in the clinic, because you'll bring some experience. So that's the 3L year. It's
Yeah. And then is clinics specific to 3L year, or are there any opportunities for students to get involved with clinics before then?
You can start a clinic the first week of law school if you want to. I mean, there's a lot of 1Ls that do it. Usually it's just a once a week thing. I think at BYU we do it on Thursdays from 6 to 9. And it's also you come when you can. There's no pressure. You don't have to make that commitment to come every week as a 1L. As a 2L and 3L, I think you do kind of have to they want to know if you're going to be there. But you can start that immediately. If you only did it, twice in a semester, you can try it. So it's not something specific for 3Ls. Anyone can do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Snow. Next question's for Sinndy, and any of these questions you're all welcome to answer. So outside of clinics, there's other ways to gain experience, practical experience during law school, and internships, like you discussed your experience with an internship. Just maybe what has been your experience with internships? And I know that you're interning, I think, with a judge, and so kind of the process that you went through to get that opportunity.
Yeah, so I think a lot of what I learned, they put a lot of emphasis on grades, and yes, grades are really important. And there's definitely some opportunities that are just have hard cutoff, GPA requirements. But equally as important is networking and really getting those connections built with people in the legal community. I believe I got my externship a lot through my networking and just being involved in different areas. So I'm doing an externship, which it's pretty much an internship, but I don't really know why it's called externship. Anyways.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Difference between externship and internship?
Honestly, I think it's just that you get credit for an externship, but it's pretty much the same thing. You still complete your hours. I don't know if I'm wrong. Yeah. Okay.
You get credit instead of getting paid.
Yeah. So no payment. I'm doing mine with Justice Pullman in the Supreme Court. But I was actually paired up with Justice Pullman as a mentor. She was my mentor through the Judicial Mentorship Program. So what you'll find in law school is that there's a lot of different mentoring programs available. UCLI has one that connects you with professionals, and then through the courts, there's this Judicial Mentorship Program, and you get paired up with a judge. Something you'll learn too is that Utah, the judiciary in Utah is very open, and they definitely want to connect with students early on and want to establish those connections with you. So I definitely find that getting these opportunities come through just putting yourself out there. It's so important to advocate for yourself and kind of manifest where you want to end up. If you don't speak like what you want to do, no one will really know, and they won't be able to share like, hey, you talked about this opportunity, why don't you apply? So it definitely just takes a lot of connecting, and the internships I think will vary on the type of work that you do. During the summer, it's definitely more like full-time work-based and you complete projects. This externship is more flexible, get to listen in on oral arguments, draft some like bench memo, which is pretty much just like advising the judge on what the cases are being argued and kind of how to proceed or different insight on it. But it's just a great opportunity to learn more about how judicial opinions are made, and then also just to learn more about professional skills that you can start implementing.
Awesome. And then kind of with that, I've come to learn, I'm also a pre-law student, how important networking really is in this profession. So maybe we can start with Paige, but all of you, just kind of how have you approached networking and building up that kind of legal support system in school? And then if you've seen any benefits from that at this point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I'm someone who will just kind of try and not be very afraid of rejection, because what's the worst that could happen, right? So I will be frank, my grades weren't fantastic. They were fine, but half of the class is bottom 50%, as they say. And if you don't let it stop you, then it won't stop you. So every year there's an event where judges will meet up with people, and you can sit at tables with them and talk to them. And I have found that the legal community here really wants to help, and they tend to have a soft spot for students. Like, there are a lot of people that will want to give you the keys to success if you ask for it. So a lot of what I began to do my spring semester of law school, first year, was I would email attorneys who were practicing what I wanted to learn, and I would invite them to lunch or a phone call. And they would take me to lunch and talk about things that they did to succeed in law school and things they did to succeed after. And I'm still in contact with many of those people. And in fact, one of them had me come work at her firm for a few weeks before my actual internship started. And on top of that, she made sure that I got to tour a federal judge's chambers, which is rare to be able to do. And because of that, I also got to meet the judge. And his clerk, mostly his clerk. But the point is, if you just email and ask for help politely, there are a lot of people that are willing to do it. And if people know you and they know the kind of person that you are, that will open up a lot of doors. And it's, as was said, frankly, grades can be very important, but networking can be just as important.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Any other?
I second that because my grades also weren't the best. So I really utilize my networking skills, which aren't that great either, but I tried because I'm more of an introverted kind of person, and I know that a lot of people are, and sometimes networking events can feel daunting and exhausting. But just go, and when you leave, you can go to sleep and recharge. I think networking is one of the most important things that worked for me. I was able to land a job a summer internship at 2 firms, and it's all just because of networking, honestly. I do recommend that, if you are going to network and reach out to someone, just go to the website, find out a little bit more about them, just do a little bit of research. You'll always hear that lawyers love to speak about themselves. It's true. So it's when you're going, if you schedule a lunch or a 15-minute talk with them, it'll mainly be them talking the whole time. So you don't have to feel so much pressure. But of course, you want to prepare 3 or 4 questions that you want them to answer that doesn't seem very general. If you do some research about them and you find out that they were involved in a particular case, you might want to say, oh, well, I read about this, and how was that for you? So you do want to come in a little bit prepared. But and your school, sometimes they might have a group. I know my school, we had American Ends of Court, and it's just a group. Every I think once a month we would meet, and a bunch of judges would just come to this event, and they're just basically there for us as students, and they would give like a talk, and then we'll have dinner together. And I think every school participates in that. It's called American Ends of Court. I would definitely recommend it because you'll meet judges, you'll meet other attorneys, and it's just a good like space to kind of just be yourself.
So yes, networking can feel super awkward at first, especially when you're talking to seasoned professionals and you're just like a 1L who has no idea what's going on. But I would say to first start with the connections that you already have. Your schools will always have an alumni database, and I found that so helpful to go through our alumni database and to filter for the types of professions or the areas of law that I was interested in, because then when you reach out, you already have a connection with someone, and sharing an alma mater, it is one of the strongest connections you can have. So I have had some of my most fruitful contacts come from our alumni database that I still connect with today. Also, so before I came to law school, I worked at a community center, and we partnered with a pro bono immigration clinic. And the attorney at that clinic has been my greatest resource because she's very involved in the immigration community. And so reach out to the people that you know, even if they're not a legal professional. People usually know lawyers. So, and again, having that touch point, somebody that you can already connect over when you reach out to somebody to network with, that goes a long way to ease the awkwardness at first of not knowing each other at all. But that being said, don't be afraid to send cold emails to people either. I want to work in immigration outside of Utah on the East Coast, and my school has essentially zero connections in immigration outside of Utah. And so I've had to put in a lot of work of just looking up immigration firms or organizations. And most of the time I don't hear back, but sometimes I do. And when I do, I usually have great conversations with the people there. So don't be afraid of that. It can be a little awkward, but it gets less awkward with time. I don't know if you want to add.
Real quick. I think also it's okay if you don't know what you want to do. And I think one resource you can use is your professors. A lot of them can help point you to the right direction or share different opportunities that they're aware of. And they can also help with those connections. So that's just another way that you can approach networking is by, going to the office hours that the professors have and just talking to them about career opportunities. I know a lot of my professors were willing to do that during office hours or outside of that. And that was also really helpful because coming into it, what litigation was, I had no idea. So just talking through a professor about what that meant was really helpful, and like what careers there are within litigation area was very insightful. So yeah, also use your professors as a resource.
Yeah, all really great insights. So it sounds like networking is really important, and we just heard a bunch of different ways to do it. So thank you guys for that. Next question is for Snow, and again, it's kind of addressed to all of you, but I'll ask Snow to answer first. We all know law school is very rigorous, very intense. So I wanted to know, how do you take care of yourself and maintain your sanity while you're in such an intensive and competitive environment?
Okay, well, it is very intense. This is true. I think most importantly is you have to take some time for yourself. You have to reserve that time for yourself. And that's really difficult to do when you have all these assignments and all these, like the readings, it can be a lot. So for me personally, I try, and I say try because I really do try to like work out, a little bit of exercise. Like I don't always do it, but if I can find time to take like a 30-minute walk or just do some kind of exercise at home, that makes me feel a lot better. I know during finals, my 1L year, I would, before each final or before the day started, I would like just run on a treadmill for 45 minutes, put my like outline right in front of me and just like keep looking at it as I'm walking. And I did so much better that semester than the next when I didn't do that at all. So exercise is so important to get like the blood in your brain flowing. Another thing is sleep. You have to sleep. Like you have to sleep. And I sleep. I do. I mean, sometimes I go to sleep really late, but like on a Saturday when I don't have to go to class, I might sleep for like 12 hours or 14 hours sometimes just to recharge. And I might just do that once a week, and the other nights I might sleep for 4 or 5 hours. But the students who sleep, they just do a lot better. They feel better. Eating healthy is another thing. BYU, they provide lunches for us like almost every day, especially in your first year. And they're not healthy. Like, they're not. They give us Costco pizza, and it's just like so much. And I realized when I was eating this stuff, I was just feeling like bad. And I was like, okay, this has to stop. So if you can try, I know it's hard as a college student to like eat healthy because everything's on the go, but like that's the most important thing you can do to like keep your sanity. Because if you eat healthy, you'll go to sleep. If you go to sleep, you'll work out. So they all kind of just like go together in just one small cycle. But for me, also, I like to spend time with family. I try to reserve some time for that. I make time for Netflix when I can, but just don't binge, you know. But it's so important. You have to take some time for yourself because it gets overwhelming really quickly. And those are just my little secrets as to how I'm still here today. Yeah.
I'll add to that. I really think exercise is the only way I stayed sane last year and this year. So it can be hard, but try and, make a priority out of it. I also think like you do just have to spend most of your day reading. And so me and my friends, we've created a habit of just during our lunch break going outside to read our cases, at least in the sunshine. And I know in the winter that's not really a possibility, but while there's sunshine out, I think it has made a huge difference to go and get some fresh air outside. We're still doing our readings. We're still getting our stuff done. But I think just even having that little refresher is good.
I think also if you are aware that you might there's things you can do before starting law school. And by that, I say, if you think you might need accommodations, start having those conversations either with a therapist or a doctor. Get a therapist if you don't, or at our law school we have an embedded therapist, just because you are taking on this different responsibility, interacting with different people. There's a lot of pressures put on you, so just don't be afraid to ask for help and get those things straightened out before or early on during law school, because it'll help you in the long run and it'll really set you up for success. And yeah, just establish a support system too, friends that you feel comfortable sharing or expressing things, just individuals you can turn to if, I don't know, the cold call went bad, but you just need to vent about it. Just seek those avenues that will at least let you express those frustrations you might be feeling.
Yeah, to add on to that, I was someone who didn't take the best care of themselves their first year. I didn't sleep a lot, and I thought, okay, I just don't have time. You just keep going. And for what it's worth, because I know most people who go to law school are very type A, you want to do everything you can. And I can tell you, it's like what Snow said, you will have so much more success if you take care of yourself. Your brain will be faster, you'll be more efficient, you'll be able to get things done quicker. And everything we do, we have our brains to thank, and you just got to take care of yourself, and the rest of that good will follow. And it will be very tempting to not take care of yourself, especially during finals. That is the time when nobody sleeps and everybody eats garbage, maybe like a full Little Caesars pizza. And you will do better and feel better if you just take the time to invest in yourself, because of course it's time out of your day that you could spend studying, but it will feel better and you will do better.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. We have one last question and then we'll open it up to the audience. So, what is one piece of advice you would give to these aspiring attorneys and future law students? And I'll have each of you guys answer if you don't mind.
Okay. I hope we didn't intimidate you with any of this. It is a lot of work, I will be honest. But if it is what you want, don't let the fear stop you and just go for it. I regret even having doubts about it. It's a lot of fun. I'm nosy, and so I love reading cases and thinking, how did we get here? Where are these people now? And I truly love the legal community and the difference that I feel that I can make. And even I don't feel that I'm the smartest person, perhaps. I think there's a lot of geniuses at my school. But I truly believe if it's what you want, don't let the fear stop you. Just go for it and know that you can do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I always tell people, if you think too much about it, you'll think yourself out of it. So just go, have that blind faith and just go for it. Just apply and just show up. Even if you're not prepared, if you don't have a pen, paper, just show up and it'll all come together. Another piece of advice I can say before you go in, try to, it's okay to walk away from people and situations that bring you stress, because if you don't, it's going to happen when you're in law school, and law school is already very stressful. So try to eliminate any like outside stress if you can. And that can be difficult, but it'll pay off in the long run. So if you have any friends or like family members that, are just toxic, I guess, or, just not good company, it's okay to walk away from them, or just tell them, hey, give me 3 years, I'll be back, and chances are you probably won't be back after that 3 years, because you'll be stronger then. But no, that's really important, because law school is hard enough, but sometimes your outside life can make it harder.
I think my advice is it's kind of application advice, but also just general advice. You can feel like there's a lot of things you should do to get into law school, and there are, but also take advantage of the opportunities that are meaningful to you. If there's volunteering opportunities in your community that you feel like are particularly impactful, even if they aren't strictly related to the law, if there's a community that you're really involved in or work that you're doing, invest time in that. I think it can fuel really great essay applications for your law school applications, where you come across as genuine, you're genuinely interested in these communities that you've invested in. But also, I think they can inform your path in the future, even if they're not strictly legal. Just for example, so that's not such an abstract thing to say, I worked at a community center for refugees and immigrants for a long time before coming to law school. It was not legal work at all. But I wrote about that a lot in my law school applications because it was so meaningful to me, and it helped me become the person that I am, and it informed my decision to come to law school. And I still draw on those experiences that I had while working there, even though it wasn't legal work. So don't feel like you need to, start like immediately becoming a paralegal at a law firm if that sounds awful to you. I did not do that. Invest your time and energy into things that are meaningful to you, and I think that'll pay off.
I'll echo pretty much everything everyone said. In particular, when I was sitting in your spot, I was preparing my application material, and I just kept having this, hesitating, submitting it. So obviously do your best and get it to a place where you're proud of it, but just submit it. You may get different thoughts about I'm not good enough, imposter syndrome kicks in. I could have a higher LSAT. I could have a better personal statement. It could go on, but you've tried your best, you've done what you can, and the rest is into the school's control, whether they'll accept you or not. It also doesn't define you. And we're all sharing great advice, but also you know yourself best. Take what you want. I'm the type of person that when someone gives me an advice, I'm like, okay, I have to apply it. And it might not be the right advice for me. So also just know how to take advice as you move forward. You'll continue receiving this advice probably for the next few years. And just, I guess, be careful with what advice you take in and how you approach things as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. And then just going off of that, if you're going into this profession as a lawyer, I think it's really important that you can trust your judgment. So like you said, you know yourself. So we all know ourselves the best. So trusting yourself is really important. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for sharing all of your perspectives and insights. We have a few minutes left, so we're going to open it up to the audience if anybody has any questions for any of our panelists.
You. I just had a question. I think you guys kind of answered it a little bit with taking care of yourself and working out in clubs and stuff. But I just kind of wanted to go more into depth about how much of your life did you sacrifice or change for law school? Because I think many of us probably have hobbies. Me personally, I have hobbies that have scheduled time commitments. And I was wondering, is it possible to still keep those while going to law school? Or, would I have to sacrifice that? I mean, in the end, if you got to do what you got to do. So, I'm willing to do that. But, it's also, my hobbies are kind of, what keep me sane. So, I'm it's how much, honestly speaking, did you have to sacrifice? Because, a lot of the speakers here today have been, either they loved law school or they hated it. But it's,
I think it depends for sure. There's definitely a learning curve when you start off. And I think the first couple weeks are the hardest just because you're reading super old cases that just don't make sense. I'm like, what are these words? So it just takes longer to get through them, right? So I think during those first few weeks, you'll probably dedicate more time. But after that, there's classmates who would like take a full weekend day off and like not do anything law school related. I try to like reserve at least a couple afternoons to like have dinner with my family or watch movies, go out. There's also a lot of social things, like we have bar review, so we'll go to a bar on once a month and like just have fun with our friends. Try not to bring up law school as much as we can. We have like barristers, which is like law school prom, which is also really fun. So there's like little things that you can look forward that are still like very social. But I think, like you know yourself best and how much time will be necessary for that. But there's definitely still time for you to do whatever like brings you joy. And I think you should keep a hold of that, because if not, law school will just be miserable for you. So like you might just need to experiment the first couple weeks and figure out like how much time you can give to this. And then once finals or midterms come, it might be a little bit less restricted and kind of like ebbs and flows. But yeah, just try it out and see what happens, but don't give up what you love, because it'll not be good.
Awesome. And I think we maybe have time for one more question, but Paige, if you want to finish, then we'll do one more question from the audience.
To add on, it is different for everybody. I have a friend who keeps it like a 9-to-5 job because she was in the bottom part of her class, but she works for public defense, which pays pretty well here actually. And she just decided, it's not going to take that much of my life. For me, I spend a decent amount more time than that, but something to keep in mind is the way that you act in law school could end up being the way you practice. And I think an important skill that you will develop as you go through school is to be protective of your free time and to learn to make time for that, because at the end of the day, you want to work to live, work to live, not live to work. You are still a person. So you'll find that.
I was just wondering, how has AI like affected your guys' studies? How much do you guys use it, and what have you seen? How does it affect the law field, and more so, how does it affect like law school and your studies?
Well, AI has been like amazing, honestly. Like my first year, I didn't use AI because it kind of didn't like jump off yet. But now I use it like a lot. But you do have to be careful with it. I'll input a question into AI just so it can like lead me to the right path. But you must do like your own research. You must like look it up and make sure that what AI is spitting out to you is accurate. They also have a lot of like legal apps that are like AI apps made just for it. I think one of them is Perplexity. They have a whole bunch. There's a lot. They draft documents for you. They can even draft your whole memo and brief. But this is where you have to be careful, because if you're doing that, then everyone's doing it, and then you're going to get the same brief, And then you also, sometimes it takes away from your natural skills to just do things yourself. So I think you need a healthy mix of AI. Like if you have a contract, if you're transactional and you need to draft a contract, I think AI is perfect for that. But if there's something like a memo where you have to like, you're reasoning and you're fighting for something, you don't want AI to take control of that because you lose your voice. Also, during one of my summer internships, I'll share this, I actually used AI to do like a research project, and I double checked and I thought it was right, but it was like totally wrong. And I submitted that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I was so embarrassed, like how am I going to fix this? And I was like, I was just proactive about the feedback that I received, and I was like, wait, just let me fix it. Like, I'm sorry, just let me do it. One thing I would say is get feedback and be able to take it and apply it. Don't, shy away or get scared from it. But AI has been really great. A lot of the schools have like AI classes where they teach you how to use it responsibly. Even professors would tell you that you can use it. So I think AI has been a great addition to the legal field, and I think lawyers who don't use AI are going to get left behind.
Awesome. Okay, I think we are about out of time. So just wanted to say thank you to our law school panelists. Let's give them a round of applause.